Hello everybody and welcome to a Project Panporn update. This is very, very long overdue. I meant to do this a long time ago, but being sick, my schedule became a mess. Of course it did. So anyway, without further ado, let's get into this update. Okay, so I'm going to start with the ColourPop eyeshadow in Cheeky. I hit pan on this really quickly. There's like nothing to these shadows at all, which is a good thing. And it's entirely ColourPop's intention. They wanted to have really cheap, affordable eyeshadows that were trendy. So people could use them for the trends and then they'd be gone and they wouldn't be hanging on to them. And I think that's fantastic. I love that a lot. However, I have a lot of ColourPop eyeshadows. I have too many. And they're this cream-ish formula. And I know that they're going to go bad pretty quickly. The Super Shock shadows from ColourPop do not last very long. They have a very short shelf life. So I have a ton. I need to go through them. So I asked you guys on Instagram a long time ago now what shadow I should put in its place. I gave you guys 3 options and it tied for 2. So I'm going to put those 2 into this challenge. So the 2 shadows that you guys chose were Paradox and Kennedy. And Paradox is this really deep burgundy shade, so perfect for the burgundy ×9 palette. And Kennedy is this very light yellowy peachy shade, like it's very light, and this one is a matte. So Paradox, I think I said, is a satin, and Kennedy is a matte shade. I really like the formula of both of these, and the matte and the satin ColourPop shadows I can use in my crease, so very happy about that. Next we have an assortment of single shadows from my little mini Z palette. I've hit pan on 2 of these. Now 2 of these that are in here right now are ones that I put in and was using sort of additionally alongside this project because I ended up needing them. So these 4, these 2 on the top that I hit pan on and these 2 on the bottom are the ones that I had initially chosen. So this is a shade from the Anastasia, I think it's the Artist palette. I was using this to set my eyeshadow primer, using it all over my lid, so I hit pan on that really quickly. And that's Half Baked, depotted from the Naked 2 palette. Also really easy to hit pan on that shade. These 2 shades here I did not use very much. This is Makeup Geek Tuscan Sun, and it's gorgeous. It is a gorgeous shadow, and this one from the Sephora and Pantone Universe Elemental palette, this gray shade, didn't really use this much either. I wasn't really feeling the gray. It's a decent enough shadow, but I just wasn't feeling it. And then these 2 up here, this is a shade from the Naked 2 palette. Actually, both of these are depotted shades from the Naked 2 palette. I think that's Foxy. I think it's Foxy. I don't remember the names of the shades from the Naked 2 palette because I depotted it like 2 years ago now, and I don't remember. And this is the matte black shade, which I have a need for every now and then. And so I just decided to put it into this palette to reach for it often. However, I've decided not to really work on any single shadows right now. I'm just not in a single kind of mood. I'm more into palettes right now, so I'm going to take advantage of that. So I'm going to just remove this entirely and just focus on a couple of palettes and the ColourPop shadows. Next we have the Vice LTD Reloaded from Urban Decay. I had this in here pretty much just for Road Stripe, and Road Stripe is the only shadow I still have pan on. I haven't hit pan on any other shadows, but I do have a little bit of usage on them. This was a good break when I was bored of the Burgundy ×9 palette, and I just was like, I want something different. Let's pull something from here because it's so colorful. So I pulled some really random shades from here every now and then, but there's very little usage on this compared to the other palettes I was using because I really wasn't using this much except for Road Stripe. So I'm going to keep this in this challenge just to have that little break, that little breather every now and then, and because I've actually been using Anonymous and Laced. For those of you who do not know, I panned the Vice LTD palette, which had Anonymous and Laced, and I've been using those a lot because actually they're some of my favorite shadows. So Anonymous is just this really good all over shade for setting my eyeshadow primer, and Laced is a really beautiful neutral leaning cool eyeshadow that pairs really well with shades from the Burgundy ×9 palette because that's a palette that is a little bit more cool leaning. So I have been enjoying using those shades again. The other shades that I reached for in this palette were surprisingly Snog. I know. And Acid Rain, which is like, what? Acid Rain? Really? This really, really light green shade. I'm obsessed with this shade. I don't even know what it is. I can't explain it. It's just this very, like, very pale light green shade. I kind of used it on my lid a little bit today. My eye look is like all kinds of crazy. I was listening to like 4 different genres of music, like randomly, and this is what ends up happening. I'm very inspired by music, and it just kind of took a whole life of its own. And I really like Acid Rain. It's a very, very pretty, very soft, very shimmery eyeshadow, but it's like what Urban Decay is good at because it's not a super glitter bomb. Next we have the Sweet Peach palette from Too Faced, and this guy got a pretty good workout because I was really feeling the peach tones. So I've hit pan on one shadow in this palette, and that is Georgia, which I was using as a crease shade a lot. One of my favorite shadows that I've used recently. Beautiful matte shade. Just, it's this perfect thing to just brighten up my crease just a little bit. So when I wanted to warm up the Burgundy x9, because a lot of the matte and satin shades are cool toned and this is warm, so it was really nice to have that option. So the other shades I used in this palette the most were Peaches and Cream, this other matte shade here. Usually using that a little bit in my crease as well, or as an all over lid shade if I wanted something a little bit warmer, a little bit darker. I was using Luscious. It's really pretty shimmery sort of brown leaning shade, and Bellini a lot. I was using this one wet, either using it with a brush or even packing it on with my finger in the center of my lid. Bellini pairs really well with Honey Lust, and they kind of combine really beautifully together when I'm doing a halo eye. So if I have like darker, deeper burgundy tones, and then I have Honey Lust and a little bit of Bellini in the middle, so beautiful. So I was reaching for this a lot, but because I've hit pan on Georgia and I don't want to get bored, so I'm going to swap this one out, and I'm actually replacing it with 2 palettes, because the 2 palettes, one is kind of to replace the single shadows and one is to replace the peach palette. So the palettes that are making their way into this project now are the Urban Decay Afterdark palette. This is a palette full of duochrome shadows that I just kind of feel like, why did I buy this? I shouldn't have bought this, but I was in that mood. I bought it when it was like the pre-sale for like VIB Rouges or something at Sephora, and I was like, I have to have this, and now I'm like, why do I have this? And I can't return it because Sephora Canada changed the return policy. Otherwise I probably would have returned it. So I'm going to try and play around with it a little bit because I don't hate it, and the more I've been playing around with it, because I started using it within the last couple of days just to see if it was something I really wanted to commit to for this project. I don't know if I'll necessarily hit pan on anything, but I kind of want to just play around with it and see if I can make some of these shades work. Alter is a really pretty highlight, and actually so is Scene, this peach shade. I'm wearing a combination of Alter, Scene, and Supersonic as a highlight today with Road Stripe, because I just said I went kind of crazy with my makeup today. So I think these are all really nice. I mean, they swatch beautifully. They just don't show up on the lid as well as they show up in a swatch, which, I mean, is going to happen. I'm sure there's lots of shadows that are like that. So that's Alter, Scene, and Supersonic there from top to bottom. Very, very beautiful shadows. But I can't get them to work for me that well. Like I said, using it as a highlight seems really fun, and I really like that. So maybe I can play around with it a little bit like that. I did use a little bit as more of a highlight. I think I used Sinful, actually. I was playing around with this palette today, and I just, like I said, went a little nuts. So I'm going to try different ways to make this work for me. This bottom row, well, like, it's the bottom row, but the top row, when I hold it upside down, it freaks me out, because these are shades I really don't like. And I should have known. I should have been smarter before I bought this, but I wasn't. So anyway, I'm going to play around with this and see what I can discover, what I like from this palette. And the second palette is the Modern Renaissance palette. Of course it is. I was talking about this when I did my Vice LTD Q&A, and it made me realize, like, I haven't really reached for this over the last month or so, because I was using so many other things and focusing on like the Burgundy x9, and this is really pretty. There's so many shades in here that I really like, and I really like the quality of this. And I think like Primavera and Vermeer, which already have really good dips on them, I think I can hit pan on both of those. So I'm going to try and do that anyway. I'm going to try and hit pan on those two shades there, and we'll see. We'll see. I'm going to play around with this a little bit more, see what kind of looks I can create. I'm feeling very inspired this year with my panning projects, with my Pan That palette, and with this project Pan Porn. So I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling very experimental, and I'm having a lot more fun applying my makeup. Not that I wasn't having fun with the Vice LTD, but the first like 6 months of the Vice LTD was a lot more fun than like the last 6 months, just because the first 6 months was all like experimenting, and then I was using up some of my favorite shades, and then I was like the last couple months were just really tough, and I think that's gonna happen when you run into shades that you don't really like. So I'm excited to be sort of fresh into this and using a whole bunch of different shades that I haven't been using for a long time. So that is everything for this update. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns, ideas, suggestions, anything at all. Leave them for me down below. I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope I will see you in my next video. Bye.